is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Row Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest is the very creative Doc Gruesome. I've got so much respect for this dude's hustle. It's not even funny. Like, artistically, I think he's one of the best in the game today, just with his creative ideas and some of the stuff he comes up with. And as you'll see in this episode, the mask, all the masks that he creates is unlike anything I've ever seen before. He puts all of his t-shirts designs. I mean, the graphic arts that he does. Man, I know I kind of sound like I'm blowing the guy here, but it's true. Like, creatively, probably one of the most talented I've seen. And he does it all himself. Like, that's what's crazy as far as like the creativity side goes. He produces his own stuff, and it's just, oh, man, I was so glad when he was willing to do this episode, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it, even if the underground music's not your thing. If you're a fan of music and a fan of creativity, this guy's for you, and just a real intelligent dude. I think everybody will pick that up after hearing this interview, or watching, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. But yeah, just a real creative guy, and not only that, I've got a lot of respect for people who aren't quote unquote signed to a label, that go out there and they make shit happen for themselves. Obviously, for obvious reasons, you know, it's kind of the path that I've taken my entire life. So I got a soft spot for guys that say, hey, I don't need anybody else, I'm going to do this myself. And that's very much Doc Gruesome. So yeah, I think everybody's going to dig it. But before we get into my sponsors, I just want to remind everyone two specific things. Number one, no matter where you're watching or listening to this on, whether it be YouTube or Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, whatever, please be sure to like and subscribe, because it helps the show more than you think. It might be minuscule to you in the grand scheme of things, but to me, your boy Jay, it means the world, and I'm not exaggerating. It gets me that much closer to making this project that much bigger. So please help me out and like and subscribe wherever you're watching this on. And not only that, friendly reminder, go to my free Patreon account at www.patreon.com/therowshowpod and join up. Again, absolutely free. I know not everybody is on Patreon. However, at the beginning of next year, I'm going to be focusing mainly on the Patreon account when it comes to this show. Obviously, the other pages aren't going anywhere, but if you want the content, if you want the flavor, if you want the extra, do you like free shit? Because I'm going to be giving away free shit over there. I know you like it. I've already given away multiple free shit on the show. But from now on, if you want it, you got to be on the Patreon account. Bonus episodes. By the time this drops, there's already been one episode, 100% free bonus episode dropped right there for you. Not only that, I've got some outtakes on there, a story of how I almost ruined my interview with Ken Shamrock 5 minutes into it. So go over there, join absolutely for free. And not only that, you get more flavor free of charge. What are you waiting on? I mean, obviously watch this episode, then go subscribe, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, enough of my babbling. Here's a word from my sponsors, and then the interview with the one and only Doc Gruesome. Check it out, y'all! Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and I'm here to tell you about my sponsor, W Energy. Now, what is W Energy? Well, I'm going to tell you because I myself use W Energy. Here I've got this Calio cream. It's got a great flavor to it, and not only that, it is clean energy. Energy that's not going to make you crash, not give you the jitters. I've been looking for a reason to drop all my old energy drinks that were unhealthy for me. Too much additives, too much trash in it, too much stuff that's going to make you crash, make you fall asleep at the end of the day. Not W. So how can you get your hands on some W to try? I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to tell you how to save some money while you do it. Go to www.w.gg and at checkout, type in my new promo code, and it is Who Else? That's right. The promo code at www.w.gg is Who Else? Because, hey, who else but me, your boy Jay? I wouldn't steer you wrong, right? And when you do, make sure you tag your boy. Let me know you got some, you tried it, and I know you're going to love it. All right, everybody, it's time to stop and let you know about today's sponsor of the show, Crazy Martin's in Piqua, Ohio, one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to. Crazy Martin's has provided their customers with quality products for over 20 years, from ashtrays to water pipes and everything in between. Stop in, check out their selection, and of course, check out their pinball machines. With over 20 pins to choose from, there is something for everyone. Crazy since 1996. I don't just say this about every place. I love going to Crazy Martin's. I've always loved going to Crazy Martin's ever since I was of age to go to Crazy Martin's. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. Me and my wife go there almost every Sunday to play pinball machines. It is one of the funnest spots in Ohio you could possibly find. It is in Piqua, Ohio. Check out their website at www.crazymartins.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Row Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, I have got one of underground music's up-and-coming hustlers. This dude, I've heard his name for the last couple of years in circles. I started to see him make some really dope moves that, and we'll get into that here in a little bit, but certain moves in the game that is always the first indicator of like, man, this guy is right there on the climb, and he's doing it. I met him at Camp Zool 3, I think it was, and one of the few artists that I actually stood on the side of the stage and watched, and that's usually the first thing that gets me when it comes to if I want to speak with somebody or talk to him, whatever it might be, is can you get me, somebody who has seen more underground concerts than half the population in my lifetime alone, can you get me to watch and pay attention? And he did. So I was glad that he accepted this interview. Without much further ado, his name is Doc Gruesome. My brother, how are we doing today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good, bro. Thank you for having me on. Respect and shit. I appreciate everything you said also.
Hey, I wouldn't say shit like that if I didn't mean it. But we'll get, like I said, we'll get into a little bit of what you got going on today here shortly. But first, I want to start off and ask, because I am somebody who lives on the I-75 corridor. For those who don't know, I'm in Ohio, north of Dayton, Ohio. So we got everything when it comes to the underground, like coming directly towards us all the way from the 90s to now. So for somebody in like you who lives on the West Coast, I'm always curious to find out, how did you get into the underground to start off?
So, like growing up, I always listened to a lot of like just weird shit. I was always into a lot more like metal and stuff, but
Yeah.
real young I started getting into like West Coast hip hop, like Dr. Dre and Eazy-E and fucking Ice Cube and shit like that. And I really started diving into that. And when I was super young, my brother, he gave me, I think it was a Ringmaster CD. That was like one of the first CDs I got. And then I really started getting into like, underground and like horrorcore shit from there. And I just kind of I really like music in general. So if I like something, I'm gonna find all corners of it. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah.
I'm huge into all genres of music really, except for probably country would probably be the only one I'm not like super big into. But yeah, I would probably say as young as like 7 or 8, I really started to get into underground shit. And I'm like 27 now, so it's been a while. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So you said that you got into metal to begin with. What kind of bands were you into?
Slipknot, obviously, huge influence on me. I love Slipknot. Just really anything. Like if you looked weird, I was into you. Like I listened to like Mudvayne, I listened to a lot of Mushroomhead, I listened to a lot of Korn. I was really into like new metal in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also listened to a lot of like Whitechapel and Job for a Cowboy and a lot of like really heavier shit that a lot of people weren't listening to too much back then unless you were like really into the hardcore crowd. But then I also listened to a lot of music I grew up on, like I don't know, random shit like James Brown and Fleetwood Mac and just a lot of like newer dad rock that my dad listened to, you know what I'm saying? Like just all types of shit.
Right. Hey, I can't even hate on like that kind of, because I'm the exact same way, bro. You listen to one of my playlists, like especially on Spotify, dude. You put it on random, and random is an understatement. I actually got to see the last tour that Fleetwood Mac did with the original. Well, I guess you say original lineup with the popular lineup with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Like all of
That's
them was the very
fire.
last one they all did as a group, bro. They came. I think it was US Bank Arena in Columbus, wherever the Blue Jackets play. I can't remember what it was. But these people, they made me feel stupid because they went for 2 hours straight. And I remember being with Minister Sobriety, like 20-minute sets used to kick my ass. Like
Yeah,
I'd be so out of breath after 20 minutes. And these motherfuckers are just up there 2 hours straight, just boom going. I'm like, God damn, dude,
yeah,
there's levels to this shit. And Fleetwood Mac absolutely made me realize just how much of a level that there was. But and on that same tip, I don't think people quite realize, unless, well, I guess I shouldn't say unless you were around back then. I don't think people give new metal the credit that is due because people always want to shit on new metal, but the importance of what that is. Now, granted, there's more Slipknot haters now than there ever was before. At one point in
right,
time, Slipknot was top tier. No, you could not debate that. You still can't debate that.
right.
They're an amazing band, but for some reason, it's like after you hit this certain plateau, it becomes cool to hate on certain groups. But without, here's the thing I always want to challenge people that if you're a new metal hater, do you like Korn? Okay, then you're not a new metal hater. Do you like
Right.
Mudvayne like you just said? No, then you're not a new metal hater. You think you are, but you're not.
Or Limp Bizkit, or all of these acts that people don't associate with new metal for some reason. Yeah.
We do not accept Limp Bizkit slander on the Rose Show. Limp
Fact.
Bizkit
Yeah.
is fact and point one of the greatest bands of all time, and if you don't agree, that's fine, but you're wrong. But anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah,
agree.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
same.
fucking cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool though, because I one of the things I wanted to talk to you about actually was the fact you kind of alluded to the fact that you kind of based who you wanted to listen to, or rather who you found to listen to, based on the imagery that it presented. And when you look at your product, the Doc Gruesome product, it's very visual. And
Right.
one of the things that I noticed when I kind of looked into your background getting ready for this was you yourself do a lot of graphic design. Let's talk about that here for a little
Yes,
bit because
sir.
you are a top tier graphic designer. How did you find out that you had the ability to do stuff like that?
So honestly, art has really just always been my thing. Like, I've never really got into anything else. I wasn't really into like building things as a kid. I wasn't into like cars. I wasn't into things like that. I was always into
Sure.
music and just different art mediums. I always loved special effects, and I got into a lot of like mask making and shit like that.
Okay.
When I was younger, I always was into drawing. I would draw as long as I could remember. I would sit down and start recording and making songs probably as young as like, I don't know, 10 or 11. Just shitty recordings on a cell phone or whatever, but just trying to do it, you
Right.
know. But that's really always been just where my brain feels comfortable. You know what I mean? So really, as long as I can remember, I've been doing that type of shit. But during COVID is really when I picked up graphic design, as you know
Oh,
what I mean,
okay.
like digital art.
How did you, what was your first couple of steps going into that? And for the people watching, look, I get into, if you've never watched the Row Show, I get into a lot of dorky details when it comes to like technology and stuff like that, because that's super interesting for me. And one of my, when I was in the 11th grade, I took Photoshop class and I still use some of that from like today. So I find shit like that interesting. So I apologize for anybody watching that's ever seen this before. I get into the weeds. I apologize. But anyway, so how did you said during COVID, where did you like, did you find a certain program you liked? Did you end up taking online classes? How did you get that ball rolling? Because again, you're excellent at, you're absolutely excellent at your work.
Thank you, I appreciate you. Yeah, so I've always I've been fucking with Photoshop since I was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 16 or 17.
Okay.
I've always used Adobe products. So when COVID came around, I was like laid off and I was getting a bunch of money from unemployment because I couldn't go back to my job and like all this shit. And so I was like, I might as well put some of this into, some shit that can make me some money back. So I went and got a drawing tablet. Um, and I just got the whole Adobe package and I started fucking around with Illustrator. And
Hmm.
that's pretty much what I use today, is just a mixture of like Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. But yeah, that's really when I started like hand drawing everything and shit and doing all of that type of art. I've been doing like digital like graphic design Photoshop type shit for years, you know. But yeah, I've always just stood by Adobe products. And I've always taught myself. I feel like if you want to learn anything, it just takes time and YouTube,
Yeah. Big time, yeah, for sure. And
you know.
that's one of the advantages to learning all that kind of stuff and being a artist as well. This is a conversation that me and Lee Carver have had I don't know how many times over the last couple of years. But in order to be in the music game today, unless you're making like a ton of cash, and you can hire people to do the stuff for you, being in music is no longer just, hey, I'm going to record some songs and I'm going to go play them. No, you have to
Right,
learn how to make your own music videos. You have to learn how to make your own album artwork. Unless you want unless you're good enough to where you just get signed immediately, which is not going to happen anymore. You
right.
have to become an underground hustler when it comes to stuff like that. So that's cool that you kind of had an advantage and a desire to want to do that, and it just happens to work out. It adds to the flavor of the Doc Gruesome persona, right?
Well, I've kind of ever since a kid, dude, I've been on my own since I was like 15, 16. So I've always
Mm.
just, made shit happen for myself. So yeah, I can't just sit stagnant and not fucking make
Right.
money. Like, even though I was making money, I didn't feel like I was making money. You know what I meant? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I really felt like I had to just do something to get shit going while I was just sitting there. And then I was also producing, I was getting a lot of shit like that done. And as far as adding to the aesthetic, yeah, I feel like nobody's gonna be able to capture my image the way I would want
Sure.
to. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, really, some of the only people I trust to just kinda work with their vision is, like, videographers, but that's because I kinda go out of my way to really research who I'm shooting with most of the time. You know what I mean? So that's really one of the only things. Other than that, all my graphics, all of everything like that, it's either there's one or two people that I fuck with if I don't hand draw it myself, and other than that, we do everything in the house. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's a big reason of why people are like, "Yo, your guys' shit is so different than everyone else's," is because I don't go to the same shit that everyone else goes to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seemed like there for a while, about 10 years ago, if you didn't have a Mr. Eight Legs produced image, you weren't on the game, so to speak, because it seems like,
Right,
as you said, that tends to be an issue is people find an artwork style. And I'm not making fun of anybody who ever did go to Eight Legs for any artwork, because Menace to Sobriety did as well. We went for two
right,
different images and we put them on t-shirts. So we were in that trap as well. But it seems like at some point, especially when it comes to underground, because there's not a lot of options. But when somebody is on fire and really putting out good work, like your Insane E's, there's another example right there. At one point in
right.
time, everybody was going for an Insane E thing. Yeah, it adds, when you're able to do it yourself, it definitely adds to that flavor and originality, as you said, to your own product.
As far as the eight legs though, that's a homie, and I am gonna I'll probably announce it here. Nobody knows yet. They probably will by the time this comes out. Actually, I'm gonna be getting some artwork from Eight Legs for this upcoming project. But I always wanted it to be like a I don't know. Me and Eight Legs are pretty close now, so that's when I fuck with people. You know what I mean? I'm not the type
Yeah,
of guy
right.
that's like I don't go out of my way to just hound dog people type shit. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna have some shit coming up from him, and his shit's super sick. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people get set in the same rotation. Like, I think the big problem is they'll see somebody like me or somebody else doing something, and then it's like everybody will just flock to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like try to
Hmm.
capture that because they think it's cool, and it's like I guess it's a compliment, but they don't understand how like oversaturative that can be for a
Sure.
brand. You know?
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. And not only that, you see people like, oh, I want something just like him. And then they get a product, and the product itself is dope when it comes to the visual imagery, but it's not reflective of the human being or the product that they themselves are trying to put out. So like
Right.
and especially in the underground, because everybody feels like in the underground, and I mean, you could take a look at my logo, right? I guess it'd be up there where you are above your head.
Yeah.
Same kind of way. There's a circular saw around it. So there's always some kind of like hint of violent imagery. But there's certain times you're just like, bro, you weigh 140 pounds. You're not a chainsaw murderer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, people get stuck in that cycle. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
And
and then in the cycle of doing the same thing from the same artist too, like especially ever since
yeah,
I've been doing the mask and the whole thing, like I'll have people try to copy my entire formula. They'll go to my mask maker, my producer, whoever I was getting
yeah,
art from, like everything. But the thing is, at the end of the day, is like nobody's really going to be able to make music like me. So I guess that's really what puts me apart. But the place where it sucks is, if somebody hears their music first and say you look exactly like me, imagery and everything because you copy my
yeah,
shit, but you sound like asshole, somebody's gonna see me and be like, "Oh, I don't know, bro." You know what I mean? And it's like that's
yeah.
where the oversaturative shit gets like annoying as fuck for someone who's trying to be unique. You know?
Case in point to that, I always go back to this example, and the fact that society has not picked up on this yet, or I guess apparently they're not going to, I don't know. Everybody gives Nirvana credit for the grunge blow up. Alice in Chains was doing that shit long before Nirvana ever exploded.
See,
And
so
now
this is
everybody.
I'm a huge propeller in this. Me and my friend Maniac, who I'm in a group Iltrix with, argue about this shit all the time. Because he thinks Alice in Chains is better than Nirvana, and it pisses me the fuck off. The reason why people credit Nirvana with the blow up of the grunge era is because Nirvana was a million times more mainstream accepted than
Yeah,
anyone else of that era.
yeah,
They
I
brought that
agree.
era into people's households through
Right.
MTV long before anyone else and other things like that. So I think that's why they get a huge. And don't get me wrong, like Pearl Jam, all these other bands are amazing. Alice in Chains, like they're all great, but
Yeah.
I don't think they were ever. And like SoundScan exists. Like we can go back and look at the numbers. None of them were touching Nirvana, and I think that's really the
Right.
reason of why
Yeah.
they get that credit. But I also understand where you're coming from. There's a lot of great artists in that genre that get slept on constantly. You know what I mean?
Sure, and you're absolutely right. Musically, nobody touched Nirvana. There's a reason why "Smells Like Teen Spirit" blew the fuck up the way it did, is because it's one of
Right,
literally not one of the greatest grunge songs of all time, not one of the greatest rock songs of all time. "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was one of the greatest songs of all time. So
right,
there's no denying that the talent level is better. Alice in Chains just did it first,
right,
not to the same caliber of music. Nobody can debate that. So you can tell your
right.
homie he's way off if he's trying to say Alice in
Oh
Chains
yeah,
is better.
he tries
They
to say
weren't.
that shit all the time, bro, and it pisses
No,
me off.
no, no. Alice in Chains just started it. It's the same thing with Esham. You know, Esham
Right,
and ICP. Esham started the wicked shit. I mean, I guess you could
right,
say Ghetto Boys did it first, but Esham was the one that really put that shit on the map. ICP did it better. I'm sorry. And no offense to Esham. I got no beef with Esham. It's just
well,
the
and
way
even
it
then,
is.
like some people could argue that Isham's music is better or whatever. I don't feel that way, but some people do argue that. But it's also like nobody touched. There's more to this than just making music, and there always has been. Like,
Yeah,
you know
you're
what I
right.
mean?
Yep.
That's what a
Yep.
lot of people don't understand, and nobody had the back end like they did. Nobody had the work ethic around that area
Yeah.
like they did. And that's
Yeah.
another huge reason of why like there's so many artists who even they accredit for them getting to where they're at musically and stylistically, but they
Yeah.
they would say names like Awesome Dre and things like that, and some people wouldn't even know who the fuck that is. You know what I mean? Which is sad,
Right.
but it's like that's where the work side of this really fucking comes in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people get left in the dust. A lot of people just want to make music. You know.
Yeah, I know so many rappers in my area who could be superstars if they wanted to be, but they sit on their fucking ass and wait for somebody to come to them. You can't do that. especially not in
Right.
today's day and age. Like 100%, bro. I'm not trying to blow myself or toot my own horn. The only reason why we're sitting here talking today is because I worked hard enough. Nobody gave me a shot. Nobody
Right.
ever gave me a shot. I had to work for it. It was so bad in my area. I literally had to start booking my own shows
Yeah.
and being my own promoter and bringing huge acts to Dayton because, A, nobody else wanted to do it because, God forbid, you have to actually sell tickets to a show as a promoter and not just give every single one of your acts 30 tickets and go, okay, sell them, and then sit
Right.
back and think you're going to collect money. No, I was out there every single day. Oh, it's my wife's birthday? Too bad. Somebody 30 miles away wanted one ticket. I got to go give him a ticket. Oh, the
Right.
football game's on with my favorite team? Too bad. I got to go down to Dayton and listen to it on the radio to sell a ticket. The
Right.
reason why we're sitting here talking is because I worked my ass off to get to this point. And even right now, when it comes to people look at my catalog when it comes to this show and they see all these different names and people that I've been able to get on here. It's all stemmed back to hard work. There are so many people out there way talented to me, but they're not willing to put in. I think at this point, I'm probably at 40 weeks straight of putting out an episode. Who else is doing that right now? That's
Right.
what separates me. It's not the talent level, it's the work ethic. You're absolutely right on that. And that's a
Right.
point that a lot of people don't realize. Absolutely, man.
Right. And that's what
Yep.
I've been trying to get. I've been dropping music videos like every other week lately. I've been pushing heavy. I'm this new album, it'll probably definitely be announced by the time this comes out, but it's gonna be called Too Late for Love Songs. It's gonna be like my goth rock album. So it's gonna be
Hell yeah.
way different than anything else I've ever done aside from a few songs on each album. Like Runaway and like Love Hate and like shit like that. But I have so many people that are constantly like, dude, I need more of shit like this. So I'm just making a whole album. And we've been, I got so much shit stacked up for it. A lot of shit that's probably out by now, but a lot of shit that's gonna drop. I got the new mask and shit. This thing is fucking insane.
I know. I keep looking down because my camera is up here, and when I make eye contact, I have to look at the camera. But I keep looking down at your mask, and I find myself going, "Oh shit! Quit looking at the mask. Look at the camera."
And this is something, I don't think I'll share. This is fucking, it peels all the way back.
Oh, that's fresh as fuck.
It peels
Okay,
all the way down.
if you are listening to this on Apple or any audio only, stop what you're doing right now and look at the actual video portion of this episode because this mask, what he's doing right now is he's pulling layers off, and underneath of it, there's a completely different side to this one mask. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking gnarly, bro. So, and I also have a single layer version of it and shit too. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, so I got a lot of new shit coming out, and I'm constantly dropping shit. This will be my second album I'm gonna be dropping this year, just solo albums, not to mention all the collab shit I've been doing. So yeah, you really got to work, especially in today's day
Yeah.
and age, man. You got to stay consistent. Like a couple weeks, people will be like, "Well, who the fuck was that guy?" You know?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's go ahead and go back to the very beginning. You said you were always looking for music. You're always finding, things to get into as far as imagery and stuff like that. At what point we were like, you know what? I think I can do this. When did you start? You said you were started rapping, shitty versions on your phone or whatever. At what point in your life did you make that decision that you were going to try to make a push to do this?
I think I fucking I was probably around like 13 or 14 is when I really started like searching out a place to go and like try to record in a studio or anyone who had anything like that, you know what I mean, going on. Then I got in my first group, Ill Tricks, and started performing with them when I was like 15, 16. I started performing at like clubs and things like that. So yeah, I've been seriously doing this for a long time, but just I was in like a 7-person group and a lot of people weren't taking shit seriously. Like my brother
Yeah.
passed away, people were turning into drug addicts. Like things were just going wrong left and right. So a lot of that held up a lot of what could have came out from me. But honestly, I look back on it as a blessing now because all those years of me making music and that shit never seeing the light of day really helped me hone like who I was as an artist in my craft. So like now I've only been doing Doc Gruesome for like 2 years. So like now when I come out as Doc Gruesome and I have like the image I want and I have like my product together and my beats and everything is where I want it to be, it's like people are just like, yo, who the fuck is this guy out of nowhere? You know what I mean? When realistically I've been doing this shit for like a decade, plus behind, closed doors kinda, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably I've been doing this shit seriously, probably since I was like 15, 16.
Yeah. Do you remember your first? Well, oh, I guess let me back this up. What challenges was there for you when you got started? Because, like, for me, it was always, I never had a problem with actual performing, like
Right.
commanding a crowd. I've never had an issue being on stage, but writing music was always a little bit difficult for me. And for years and years and years, I never really got a chance to really, I guess, level that up until I got with Menace to Sobriety and working with those guys. Then my lyricism, I like to think, started to pick up. So lyrics were always a challenge for me, but not the performing side. Was there
Right.
anything in particular when you started that was easy for you than you thought it was going to be, or anything that was more difficult, or was it just something that kind of was all natural?
Um, I definitely think it was a learning curve. I've always been, I don't know, like so like I said, when I got into my group, I've always been like the youngest one. Like I was like 16, everyone else was like in their 20s. So I was like performing in bars and
Mm.
clubs before I was like even allowed to be in that motherfucker type shit. So
Right.
uh I've always been like everyone always called it like little kid talent. You know what I mean? Cuz I was just kind of naturally good at like art and making music, but then again, they don't see that I've been like practicing that since I was like 12 or younger, like every
Right.
day seriously trying to write songs and make songs. So it's like when I come into a group and I'm like, yeah, this is my first group, this will be my first time like really, doing it. They're like, yo, what the fuck? But like at first when I was real young, it was really hard for me to I was really into like trying to emulate what I saw and what I heard and what I listened to. And it was kind of really hard for me to get away from that in the beginning and just find what I wanted to make music like, what in my
Yeah.
roots wanted to come out. And I think I've really honed that over time. But I think that was really the big hurdle for me to get over was trying to figure out not to make music like something I listen to and I really like that's really cool, but it's like that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people correct themselves on. And I think that's why we get it's funny, I always say the default name for your typical Juggalo rapper is Wicked Killer 666 or something like that. And
Right.
there's so many people out there that just,
He
God,
graduated from Juggalo University.
yeah, right, right. And they don't try to make it their own. Like all they want to do is just be a clone. And like you said, even when it comes to people trying to copy you, when it comes down to the mask, same thing when it comes to guys like Alazulu. People try to copy the mask thing from
Right,
like verbatim. Obviously, nobody can copy a mask. Masks have been around in music for a long time. So the
right,
concept of the mask cannot be copied. It's already
right.
been done. It's the imagery around it. But even when it comes to stuff like that, look, I'm sorry, and this is no offense to anybody that wants to use face paint. White and black face paint, if you aren't ICP or twisted, stop it. Or blaze.
Orange.
Stop it right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, fine, you wanna do face paint, that's fine. But find a way to make it your own. And that is a big problem. I see that with so many acts in the underground who can never like if they're trying to break that barrier, they're putting in the work, but they're trying to copy something that's already successful. You're never going to be able to emulate something that's already done.
Aside from corpse paint, you know what I mean? There's not really anybody out there who's painting their face black and white that's not also like juggalo this and psychopathic
Yeah.
that in their fucking music. And it's like, dude, like, what are you doing, bro? Like,
Right.
I get if you just want to be juggalo famous, that's cool, I guess, whatever. But like, there's such a huge influx of that it's wild to me. I don't know. It's like
Yeah. I'm with you.
No originality at all at that point, you know.
Yeah, and like you said, if you're just doing it for fun and you want to be Juggalo famous, then hey, all power to you. But at some point, if you want to
Right.
break away from the rest, you got to make your own moves. And when that's something that you have been doing, I alluded to this in the intro. I saw over the summer you kind of went guerrilla style and were like, "Fuck it, I'm going to start my own little mini tour here." And I'm like, man,
Right.
props to this dude. And I think when I saw that you announced this tour and people were starting to put it out there, that was the moment where I'm like, okay, I need to talk to this dude because people don't quite understand the balls it takes to bet on yourself and go, I'm going to go out there and hit the road. It doesn't matter if there's going to be 5 people there or 500 or 5,000. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to start putting a name for myself.
Especially when it's like I'm not one of these people who's just centered in the market like all these other guys. Like I'm not one of these people who can just get up and get a van with my homies and travel 4 hours to each stop or whatever and then one long drive back home. I have to fly halfway across the fucking country and rent cars and fucking bring my merch people and like
Yeah,
it's a whole thing, you know? Like
right.
I'm nowhere near home or anyone who knows me or like I'm really just out here trying to fucking do that shit, you know?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
appreciate you noticing that because that's a fucking big step that a lot of people aren't willing to make on themselves.
It absolutely is, and it's one of the ones that I was never willing to take because
It's
just because
scary,
the
I ain't
amount
gonna
of
lie,
work,
you know?
bro. It's my very first tour, bro. Was and I reference it all the time. Is this poster right here? Is the Twisted Spooktacular Horror Show tour, and
Right,
we were out there for 30. Oh God, I want to say 38 or 40 dates, and that was the first time where I realized like this that life ain't for me. Touring is
yeah,
fucking hard, and people don't get it.
it
Like
is.
they do not understand. They think you're out there partying. They think even when I worked for them,
Yeah,
when I worked for Twisted on Psychomania the following May, and I contractor for them, and they were putting me in hotels every day, and they were giving me a per diem every day. It was still fucking hard. There were still days where I was sleeping in the back of the budget van while there was a blizzard.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's never easy ever. So
That's
and
that's
again,
the side people don't see. They think we're just out here having fun, but it's like
right?
most artists that are independent, I'm the first in the building and the last one out most of the time. So,
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
and I had to drive there the whole day, and I was awake until 3 o'clock in the morning the night before. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
people don't.
yeah.
It's not for the weak at all, for sure.
No, not at all. That's why it's a revolving door because people eventually go, "Hey, I can't do this anymore," or they stick it out, and then it eventually gets easier. But at what
Right.
point? Well, I guess I shouldn't say at what point. How did you cut? Was there anything that triggered you setting up that mini tour? Because again, that's not something that you just go, "Hey, I'm going to go on a tour." Like you said, there's a lot of work and planning into it. Was it just something you were like, "I have to do this" because I know you said that you have to stay busy. That's something that you like doing, or was there something that goes, "Fuck it, I'm not getting"? Because again, for me, what spawned my whole thing was nobody was giving me the opportunity, so I went out and made it. Or was it just something you were like, "This is the next natural progression to what I want to do"?
Um. So I had a lot of people that wanted me out that way, so it was definitely something I was looking forward to. But I got booked for that Trapped in the Hills festival, and
Mm,
Anzi Triple Nine ENT after that, he hit me up and he was pretty much like, "Hey, bro, there's a lot of interest in you coming out this way, so we might as well capitalize on that and do a little mini tour." And that was really the spark of everything, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't have when they're trying to book their own shit is like I can contact the venues that everyone else can contact, but they're gonna big time you most of the time and dick you around.
Yeah.
Like it's way different having somebody there in that city booking a show for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that was a big catalyst in the whole thing. Um, Coming out there to do that festival and then all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And not only that, it's one of those things where if you do have people in the city, they can do most of the promotion, whereas opposed to just one email blast or something like that. Again, that's another aspect of the show that a lot of people don't realize. If you ain't got a good promoter, or you're trying to do it yourself, it's very hard to get the word out there. Just making one
Right.
Facebook post is not going to do it, you know. And I think
Right.
a lot of people think that, oh yeah, 200 people responded to my event page, and then they're shocked when there's 30 people in the crowd, or 20 people in the
Yeah.
crowd, or whatever it might be. There's so much more to it than that. So, man, that's really cool. And again, much props for you for taking the opportunities that were in front of you and made the best of it, because that's how you do it. That's how you get out there. That's how you
Right.
continue to grow as an artist. Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
to that credit, bro, shout out Dark Neon Promotion. He's the guy I work with, who books all my in-town shows and everything like that. He's the homie, and he's like one of the best promoters I've ever seen, bro. Like I've never seen anyone put in footwork like this dude. We've been like almost selling out shows at like venues in my city, just like me. I did the one with Warlord Colossus. That was a big one, but yeah, we've been doing big shit and bringing a lot of music out here that like a lot of people don't see, and like doing more as a local show than big artists come out here and do a lot of the time. You know what I mean? So, and it's all on this dude's back. Like, obviously, I can take credit for a little bit, like people coming to see me or whatever, and the homies. But this guy's promotion is ridiculous. So, yeah. So what you were saying, that will make all the difference in the world. Like a person actually getting in there and putting in work and caring about the product, as opposed to somebody just, hey, everyone show up to the show or not, whatever, on Facebook. Like that's not.
Right.
There's so much more that goes into this.
Yeah, for sure. So in your time, and it could be pre Doc Gruesome, whatever it might be, in your time of doing music, is there anything in particular, a certain show, certain album, whatever it might be? Is there anything when you think over the time that you've put in so far where you're like, man, this is one of my favorite memories ever?
Um, yeah, favorite, I would probably say so far it would be like probably Four Horns for me. Just cause R.I.P. to my brother EJ Prophet. He passed away last October. I've lost a lot of people in my life. I've lost two of my best friends like back to back, and EJ was one of them. Like me and him started Cerberus Click. Like everything that you see now is because me and EJ got together. Like period. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. So I don't know. Like just having that time of being able to like work on that music with him, and like just how similar we were, like minded, and how our drive was, like going to LA with him to shoot those videos, and just all the memories I have from that album, that's probably my favorite, you know, because I don't think like making music means a lot to me, but making music with my homies means, you know, a lot more, especially when they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry about your loss, man. That's tough. There's been a lot of people that I've lost a lot of people, it seems, the last couple of years. So, and it's I haven't lost my sister recently, but my oldest sister died in 2006, and there's something that happens when you lose somebody like that, that it changes everything. You know what I'm saying? Like it almost becomes a crossroads in life. Everything was
Right,
this way, and then I lost somebody, and it veers off to the left. And I don't think people quite understand that. And not only that, like when they see imagery, I think also people forget that just because you create music, it means you're also a human being. And
right,
they see certain violent imagery, and they perceive you as being callous to death or callous to loss. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to name any names out here, but there are some people out there who live the gimmick. There's not a lot of them. There are some
right.
people out there they do have that callous, but more often than not, man, I run into people like you where, yeah, that's not the case. So, sorry
Right.
for your loss, man. That sucks.
And my condolences also to you and your sister. And
Oh,
just
thanks,
as
man.
to that, with everybody, like, I feel like a lot of motherfuckers will be living the horrorcore gimmick or whatever and doing that shit like to the fullest. It's like wait until you lose your best fucking friend and watch them die in front of you. Like wait
Yeah,
until something like that happens, and then you're gonna be like, oh fuck, man, this person has like an entire network of people tied to him that's gonna be affected by this. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that's what a lot of people don't grasp. Like I'm pretty callous to death. Like I've been losing people since I was really young. It's kind of hard for me to get emotional over death and things like that, but like most of my biggest inspirations and things that I do to this day are because I'm trying to honor my friends that have died. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I really just think it kind of depends the life people live. Like, there might be that 1% of people who are just like savage fucking killers, but I don't see any of them out here making music as far as I can see, you know?
Yeah,
So,
sure. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's end this on a light note. Something that I always like to, and we alluded to it a little bit at the beginning of this. Something I always like to talk about when it comes to people who have that dark imagery that we talked about. Is there anything
yeah.
in particular, and it could be a certain band, could be a show you're into, whatever. Is there anything in particular that you're into that somebody who's a fan of yours would hear and go, "Wait a minute, what? He's into that?"
Yeah, probably a lot of things, honestly. Fuck, let me think. Lately I've been watching a lot of Trixie Mattel on YouTube. She's funny as fuck. Uh, I think she's hilarious. Um, yeah, probably just a lot of shit. I don't go by the norms of what people think is cool. I could give a fuck less, honestly. Like if I find something cool or funny or I like the person for the person, like everyone else can suck a dick until I'm proven otherwise. You know what I mean? So yeah, probably a lot of fucking things. I like a lot of softer music. I like a lot of singing music. I like a lot of just shit like that, you know what I mean? That's probably my only real guilty go-to pleasure. Other than that, I'm pretty what you see is what you get for the most part, you know. I like a lot of horror, I like a lot of heavy shit, I like a lot of darker shit, but yeah, comedy and music and things like that, like if I fuck with the person, like in art really, just in general, like that's really what I vibe with, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Somebody
fair
who's
enough.
out there doing their own thing, you gotta respect it, you know?
Hey, dude, if I get a little bit too blazed, I will put on Kenny G and just sit back and chill. I don't give a fuck.
Oh
You can
yeah.
judge me all you want. I'm 38 years
No,
old, bro.
dude.
Your judgment on me don't mean shit. So I
That's
feel
what I'm
you. I
saying.
feel you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not yeah. I listen to, and like I said, I listen to, as you can tell by the music and the new shit I'm coming out with, I listen to a lot of goth rock, I listen to a lot of softer synth shit, I listen to a lot of like singy stuff. So um yeah, I don't really give a fuck what anybody thinks. And I feel like at the end of the day, people respect you more for that, you know?
Well, as we wrap up, I always say, man, much appreciation for you being here and much respect for your grind. There's very few people out there with a strong work ethic. You got it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on and have this conversation. So I always give the
Yeah.
last couple of minutes to my guests. If there's anything in particular they'd like to plug, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. I want to say I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on, spreading the fucking message and shit, respecting what I'm doing. I respect what you're doing, definitely. I've been real picky about interviews I've been taking lately because I've done a lot of shit ones, you know. Uh, but your product seems on point. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you.
your quality is clear, everything. Your interviews are actually good. So I just want to say I appreciate you for having me
Thank
on.
you.
Um, but yeah, right now, this will already be announced, but Too Late for Love Songs pre-orders should be available at cerberusclick.com. Go and get those now. If you like anything I've done as far as goth rock shit or anything like that, this whole album is going to be completely different than anything I've ever done. So go and get that right now. Probably have a lot of cool bundles and pre-order shit available like I always do. The V3 Doc Gruesome mask. This one right here, where is it? That one in the middle, the one with the circle cog eye. That boy's available right now at serversclick.com for pre-order. Also, I don't know how many will be available by the time this comes out, but go and grab those if there's still some left. And yeah, Doc Gruesome everywhere on all music. Cerberus Click. Appreciate y'all for fucking with me, you know?
Oh, yeah, Doc, you keep doing your thing, man. All right, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.